Nothing stops your progress like getting an injury. It's almost inevitable that you're going to experience an injury if you work out consistently. Well, check this out. I have 5 proven weird hacks to speed up recovery, and you probably haven't heard of them.
I like this.
Yeah. So, okay. So
it's like a direct shot at me, but I'll take
it. All of it. So there's okay. So we got to get the obvious out, right? The obvious stuff that we know, like that will not beat. You can't beat the obvious, which is, sleep and rest. Obviously, you have an acute injury, rest and sleep, that's at the top. But then after that, in other words, if you don't do those things and everything else I'm going to talk about, it's not going to do much. But after that, are there proven ways to accelerate the healing process? And there are. And I'll start with the first one, which is kind of a weird one, which is fasting.
So that seems counterintuitive because you would think you want to get nutrients to the injury to recover faster, but I'm guessing your reasoning for fasting is to bring down inflammation.
Yeah, partially.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and it's not a prolonged fast. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
If you tear a muscle, you twist your joint, you roll your ankle, don't go on a 72-hour fast afterwards. But a fast, a daily fast, intermittent fasting, has been shown to accelerate the recovery process, especially through the refeeding portion of the fast. So when you fast, it actually upregulates, or for lack of a better term, the stem cell process, the recovery process does reduce inflammation quite a bit as the gut isn't dealing with food. And then when you refeed, there seems to be a faster recovery process through fasting. Now, fasting has been used historically in the way I'm talking.
It filters out like problematic cells. And,
yes.
Yeah, it gets rid of all the bad junk cells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it primes it. It primes the body. I've always thought of like fasting as like the taking the sponge and wringing out everything on it. And so you take a sponge, right, and that is full of water, and you run water, and it kind of like runs right through. Versus you wring it out, you put it under that water, and it sucks it all up.
And there's animal models that show that this can speed up the recovery process. And part of it is controlling inflammation, right? When you have an acute injury, you want an appropriate inflammatory response. In other words, you don't want to get rid of inflammation. So I could take
it identifies the problem.
Yeah, I could take very powerful anti-inflammatory drugs. I could take corticosteroids and NSAIDs, over-the-counter NSAIDs, and that actually slows down recovery because you need a certain amount of inflammation essentially to signal the body to recover and repair. And the inflammatory process is part of the recovery process. So we don't want to block it, but what we want is an appropriate inflammatory response, because if it goes crazy, then the inflammation itself can cause certain issues. And fasting seems to promote a nice, balanced inflammatory response. And again, it's not prolonged fasting. You're talking about, I'm talking about
that protocol look like?
Like a 12-hour.
12, yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm not going to, I go to bed at, 9 p.m. And I'll eat at lunch or something like that. So I'll skip breakfast, or I'll wait maybe till 3 to eat my first meal. And this seems to accelerate the healing process. A lot of people don't talk about that. Next is the keto diet. Now, this is especially true for nerve and head injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Head injuries in particular.
It's great for brain health.
Yeah, so when they show
the inflammation thing, right?
It really reduces, in some cases, in some of these studies, it's remarkable. In fact, I'm blown away doing research for this particular topic. I'm blown away that the protocol for football players, for boxers, anybody suffering from a concussion, I am surprised that the protocol is not prescribed, that you go keto
That's a really
for the following 3 days or week.
Why isn't that more thought of as part of like a treatment?
Is it? Maybe you guys aren't aware of that? I mean, when a pro athlete goes down, a quarterback goes down with a concussion now, do you know that for sure? That they're not being told that?
It's not the mainstream. It's not the mainstream application.
I know that.
But maybe they're forward thinking, right? They have really good coaches.
I know Tom Brady would talk. He's got anti-inflammatory diet, which is similar, right? So it's foods that are low inflammatory foods, which are going to give you similar responses like keto, I would imagine. So I know that the NFL is aware of it, and he's made that popular. So I'm curious if maybe now that's
it's not just the reduction,
more neuroprotective, right?
Yeah, so it's not just the reduction in inflammation, although that's part of it, right? So when you're on a ketogenic diet, high fat, moderate protein, 0 carbohydrates, you produce ketones. Ketones themselves are anti-inflammatory, so that's part of it. The other part of it is that when you have a head injury in particular, your your brain's ability to utilize glucose becomes impaired in the short term. This can cause a lot of problems. So when you're in ketosis, your body and your brain start to use ketones. And so it allows your brain to operate somewhat normally during that injured process. Now, is this which reduces the damage?
Is this because like carbohydrates, glucose have some sort of a byproduct or a waste, and the ketones runs cleaner? I mean, why would the body prioritize or utilize ketones better than its primary source, glucose? Like, that's interesting.
I mean, you said it well without getting too deep into the weeds. To be honest with you, I don't really understand. I'm not an expert in the science of it, but the way it is explained
seems a little more inflammatory.
It is a cleaner source of energy.
That's how I've heard it described, and that makes sense. What you're saying, like, oh, that's why they would say that is it would be.
And there's nothing wrong with using glucose for energy. So I'm not like a keto's the way to go type of deal. But when you look at the studies on like dementia and Alzheimer's, they have an impaired, their brains have an impaired energy metabolism. And so when you put someone on Alzheimer's, it's not a cure for Alzheimer's, but if you take someone with Alzheimer's dementia, put them on a ketogenic diet, you often see an improvement in cognitive function. So it's not curing the problem, but it seems to bypass some of the issues that are caused by the disease itself that are due to energy metabolism. So keto diet, especially for nerve and head injuries, like you hurt your back, you got a spine injury, you got a brain injury, probably a good idea. So if you're listening to us, watching this, and you had a concussion, like I'd go ketogenic. I would avoid carbs completely to mitigate some of the damage. Next up is the sauna. Now, the caveat here is after the acute phase is over. So if you have a tear, or you got some bleeding, you got a just swollen joint because you just twisted your knee, let's not go to the sauna until that stops. So that could actually make the bleeding worse. But after that, it seems to, the data shows, accelerate the healing process.
Is this the cell turnover? Is that what the
heat shock proteins that are produced by the sauna, and then they think also the improvement in blood flow.
Yeah, blood flow, I would imagine, would be good with that too. Like, I would think that it would help to kind of bring down that governing response of, like, really protective, like tightening, allowing more movement in therapy. And so if you're like moving and actually like, it shuttles blood a little more effectively. Yeah.
So I love that you said that, Justin. So that's not what they would say in the studies, but I agree with you. One of the challenges as a trainer of doing any kind of correctional work post acute phase of an injury. So somebody, they tore something, now we're a week out. It's not the tear is healed, but they're still hurting. One of the challenges is getting them to move properly to do correctional exercise because the body's protecting the joint. And what heat does is it gets the CNS to relax. That's why if you're in hot, like really, really hot weather, you get kind of tired and
the
sluggish.
Vibrating plate we've found has a lot of.
We'll do that as well, right? Yeah. So I agree with you. I think going to the sauna, after the acute phase, and then kind of moving that joint a little bit, nothing crazy, can help with the recovery. Next up, higher dose creatine.
Now, is this like a mega dose, like you would do with like melatonin for someone whose their circadian rhythm is off, or is this like a little bit more than what
10, 15 grams a day? Yeah, so more. I don't know if it's considered a mega dose because some studies are suggesting people probably should take 10 grams a day anyway for cognitive function.
That wouldn't be a mega
but
dose.
most studies work with 5 grams a day. But taking double, the amount of creatine that's utilized for healing goes up. And so taking more seems to have
gives you more supply there.
Yep, it seems to have a faster recovery process effect. It's
interesting. It seems that with all the studies that we have on creatine, there seems to be a range of your body still being able to utilize higher doses. Like we have. I think it's pretty clear that 3 to 5 is kind of the standard dose that people get most the benefits. But it does seem that some studies are showing that there's even more benefits coming from even a little bit more.
Especially if you're in a state of either injury or sleep deprivation. So like, let's say you had a really bad night of sleep, you slept 4 hours, and then today you're like, oh my God, I got a midterm. 10 milligrams of creatine seems to have a very positive effect. 5 grams would have a positive effect as well, but 10 grams seems to have more of an effect. So it's like when you're in a deficit spot from either illness or injury, then the higher dose seems to have a positive effect. So when you injure yourself, like take more creatine. Hey, sorry to interrupt. We have a free guide titled Understanding Your Mood, stress, and sleep. It tackles all of those things from a health and longevity perspective. It's a totally free guide. So just click on the link at the top of the description below.
So this totally justifies the other night when Katrina was asking me as I was eating the creatine gummies like candy, that it was like I could still use some of that.
Right.
It wasn't a waste beyond 10, honey.
I hadn't even got to my limit yet, honey.
You know what? So you know what? So we'll get.
Sal said on the study the other day.
I'll get there in a second because we're. I'll talk. I want to talk about Organifi has a creatine chew now that they've just come out with.
Yeah.
I'll get there in just a second because I got a study to bring up. I got a review.
Their cherry chews.
That is going to. You're not going to be surprised, but you're going to get pissed. But you're not going to be surprised.
Okay.
So the last one before we get to the review on creatine, higher protein intake. By the way, this is somewhat standard standard of care for wound and surgery. They don't promote it enough, but if you have surgery or a wound, you should bump your protein.
Okay, there's conflicting information you just gave us there, because the first tip was the second tip was keto. And then you're saying higher protein, but higher protein is not keto, though.
Sure it is. You can go you're keto if you go 0 carbs and you have a good amount of protein.
I thought the reason why ketogenic was
that's very low protein.
You're thinking of like the epilepsy keto.
Right. But I mean, I thought the reason why that is because if you too much protein could actually kick you out of ketosis too, right?
If you're getting treated, if you're on a ketogenic diet for medical reasons like epilepsy, then they want as many ketones as possible, and they'll limit your protein.
Degenerative thing.
If you're not that, then no, you can go high protein, high fat, low. No carbs, and you're still considered.
So maybe that's a better way to actually even present this information, is not like labeling it as a diet, like follow the ketogenic diet, more so eat a high protein, low carbohydrate.
Very low carbohydrate.
Very
adequate fat. Make sure you have enough fat in there to make up the difference. But high protein is well established as a way to accelerate any kind of healing of the body, because all tissues require protein.
I've only heard it for like burn victims for the most part, and then for tissue repair. But
it's funny you say that. The original studies on branched-chain amino acids and on essential amino acids were on burn victims. So when you look at their first studies on like the big ones, they would give people these IVs of amino acids. It was burn victims. They see these accelerated, and then after that, people are like, maybe athletes
should eat more.
Should use as well. All right, creatine. Let's get to creatine. So, and this is great that we're going to talk about Organifi, because they're so transparent with their label, and they source. By the way, they source their creatine from the best source.
They're meticulous, in my opinion, about that,
which is Creapure. Creapure is one of the most regulated, trusted sources of creatine monohydrate. Now, why am I bringing this up? Okay, there was a review that just came out where an independent company went and took a bunch of creatine gummy supplements.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted to see how many of them actually had what they said that they had. And do you guys want to guess?
Oh, I bet it's horrible.
Is it really?
These are major brands.
Dude.
Bro, I hope it's not that bad, because that is shameful, because creatine's already a relatively inexpensive product to do.
Aren't bad.
All you got to do is throw it in your damn gummies and you should be killing it. And you mean to tell me people are pixie dusting that?
So out of the ones that they tested Bare Balanced, BOD, Effective Nutra, Iron Labs Nutrition. We'll put this in the show notes. Peach Perfect, Zoo, Astro Labs, Beast Bites, Create, Concrete, Grabby, Nord.
Beast Bites.
Anyway, so they tested 12 companies, 46% failure rate. 46%.
Half of them didn't even reach the what they said they had.
Some of them had 0 creatine.
What?
Some of them didn't even have less; they had 0. Wow. But 40% of over 40% of them were off what the label said. Some of them by a tremendous amount. Now, you know why I think this is. By the way, first of all, it's hard. You got to have really high standards with your supplement, because there's when you own a supplement company, there's a few steps before it hits the consumer.
Yeah.
And if you're not watching every single step, it could also get away from you. So you could be a supplement company owner, not pay attention to any step, and until somebody sends you a report like this, you don't even know.
Well, I mean, I shared my story, my experience as a kid in high school. I got the opportunity to work at one of those protein factories. And what most of these companies do is they hire an outside packaging company or factory, and that factory hires a bunch of high school kids who work in an assembly line, you know, for minimum wage that puts all the stuff in there. And, you know,
You're eyeballing it.
yeah. So I'm like, yeah, that looks like 2, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's done, you know what I'm saying? Like, so,
house, as they say.
so I could easily see where there could be, and it's not so much the company or the founder of the company's fault. Like, you don't, I mean, although it is,
It could be.
yeah, you're the founder. You got to be,
You're always in fault.
you got to be doing those due diligence. But I mean, I think sometimes it can come off like people are like, oh, this company's malicious, when it could be just a simple error of, you know,
Well,
we hired
here's
an
the
outside
other
company
thing,
to do
and
this.
I'm not saying that this is how you know, okay? But creatine itself, even if you micronize the powder, it's still a powder. So I think if you eat your gummy and you don't feel a little bit of like there's something
little
in there.
texture in
Might
there.
have nothing. If it's
Listen,
like a pure gummy,
I've always, this is the thing where, you know, people that try and save 2 cents here, 5 cents there. It's like, if you're a company that is paying for it to get regulated like a firm, that's coming out of your margins.
Yeah.
You've got to pay for that in order to, and you don't necessarily have to. FDA doesn't force you to do that. And so if you're a company that is going to go above and beyond and do that, you've got to build that into the cost, which means your creatine is not going to be the cheapest creatine. So for me, this is an example of like, you pay for what you get. And you know what? Like, if you're going to save and cut costs in your life, like really, you're going to try and save $2 on the creatine because it's cheaper at the grocery store it's an off-brand that you're not aware of if they are using it or not, versus I'm going to go with the company that has a reputation around being really, really stringent around what's inside there. And I know that they're charging me for that because they pay an outside company to do that. So I'm okay paying the $2 more.
and Organifi
If
is
you buy
like,
at CVS, you're probably screwed.
let's
be honest.
And
You can buy
Organifi is
supplements there.
such sticklers with quality.
Yes.
They had to go with the best. They went with, you know, like I say, Creapure. Their cherry chews have what they say they have in them. So what's interesting too, by the way, the news coming out on creatine.
Is that the landing page? I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, there's theirs right there.
It looks good.
So the news on creatine right now, the data coming out. So, and I said this 10 years ago on our podcast. I said this is the best supplement ever. It's for all these great things or whatever. Nobody was talking about it in that way, or very few people were. Now we have all this data. You know what else just came out? Studies came out on creatine.
What?
Anti-cancer.
Oh, wow.
Like, just add that to the list of benefits.
What else can it do?
I mean, you know, it's like, bro, I'm telling you right
It
now.
also blocks the sun.
Can I tell you, I have accidentally taken 2 supplements because I've taken a lot of stuff that's not good for you. I've done a lot of things in the pursuit of trying to build muscle, you know, body dysmorphia, whatever, a lot of dumb things. But there's 2 things I've done in my life that I think saved me quite a bit.
That were brilliant.
One of them was on accident. I didn't take creatine for health, okay? As a
Idiot
kid,
savant.
I took it to get big. I didn't care if you told me it was bad for me, but it made me bigger, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
But I took it, and I've taken it religiously since I was like 16 years old. So creatine has probably really benefited my organs, my brain, the anti-cancer. Like, it's probably saved me quite a bit. And then the other one is psyllium husk, which is fiber. I've been taking that for years and years and years and years. And now I'm reading it's one of the better ways to get rid of microplastics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. And we're learning all this stuff about microplastics. I'm like, I've been accidentally
That's
taking.
been freaking me out.
I know,
Okay.
dude.
That's interesting.
Isn't that
great?
Oh, that is great. Is that just because it helps filter the liver? Is
Yeah,
that,
no,
okay.
because it binds to it. In your
it
food.
binds
Yeah,
to it.
gets rid of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
High fiber
that's
diet
interesting.
in general is helpful for getting rid of microplastics. So
my
on
God.
accident, I did another good thing, or somebody up there. So, you know, God's
somebody's looking
helping
out
me
for
out
you,
a little
dude.
bit. Which is, speaking of supplements, by the way, this article came out. They posted it in our forum. I'll pull it up. It's one of the most. I get very frustrated with articles around health and fitness quite a bit because
They're wrong.
yeah, and the way that they title them is so
It's all about
it's misinformation.
Yeah. It's always about getting
Here's the title.
readers more than it is about being factual.
Here's the title of the article: Muscle building supplements may put teens at risk.
What?
Oh my God! You ready? A new study.
alarmist.
Okay, a new study is linking the use of 6 muscle building supplements. Now I'm waiting. When I read this, I was waiting for them to say kidney failure, liver issue. Like, oh, what are they taking? These kids? What are they taking? A new study is linking the use of 6 muscle building supplements to symptoms of body dysmorphia. No shit. So what you mean to tell me is somebody's body dysmorphia is more likely to take supplements?
That's the cause.
Yeah.
So whey protein was on there. So somebody was like in our forum, my son wants to take this, but I don't want him to get body dysmorphia.
Oh, God. No
like,
way. Was that really a question?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, listen, if your kid is 14 and is like taking 5 supplements, he probably has body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the supplements causing.
I think you're a teenager. You have it. I think it comes.
Yeah,
I think it comes with the territory. I think
the
when you're
default.
Man, how do they come up with these twists and slants to these products? It's crazy.
I mean, they reverse engineer it. It's brilliant when you think about it. They're like,
it's reverse causation.
yeah, the reverse causation, and that the reverse causation gets headlines.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense. It's like, I got an
God.
idea. You know, let's say that it causes that versus the other way around. Like, so kind of brilliant in the game, and it shows you how much. Look at it. It had one of our listeners of the show concerned, rightfully so. If you're a mom, your son's asking, you don't know much about it. All of a sudden, this article pops up in your feed the next day. You read it. I would be concerned with my son taking it too if I read that. So. Yeah, so crazy how powerful and unfortunate.
And then you know, back to creatine, there's this huge push now because the recommendation still says 18 or older, and I've always thought, and I don't vocalize this on the show much because I don't want to make myself liable. Okay, but now you're getting this huge push from people in the medical industry, scientists and researchers who are like, this is ridiculous that we're saying 18 and older. We need to give this to kids. We need to give this to pregnant women, because it also says if you're pregnant, don't like the benefits are. And again, I'm not saying this because I know they still say 18 or older, but if you look at the data, like old, young, you're pregnant, whatever, like the benefits of creatine are super far ranging. And so they're really making this push to say, like, stop saying 18 and older, because there's lots of people that could benefit from taking this.
Let the creatine gummy wars begin. I mean, I really would love. So I'm going to call our audience out to do this because you know they'll be fun, and I'd like to hear their opinion versus ours. So we have 2 companies now that are our partners. Both have moved into the creatine gummy place. So obviously the market's going there, and you see other ones popping up. So I'd love to hear from our audience
who their favorite is,
of the 2 companies, and why. You know what I'm saying? So if you get an opportunity to try them both, I'd like to hear what our audience thinks, and then we can talk and share about it. I mean, I've used both. I think I love both, but it'll be interesting to hear what the majority of people think.
And more people are consistent because of the delivery method, because it tastes like candy.
I don't miss.
Oh yeah.
I don't miss. I keep the bottles near me of like.
And for the first time now,
consistency is everything.
And we're starting to see now the female consumer is really starting to buy in. In fact, I was on a podcast recently in LA. They were asked, that's what they were talking about, was creatine, and this is like a young female audience. So.
You know, talking about creatine gummy wars. It reminds me of a story I had an article I read that I thought that you would like. You talk a lot about the Coke and Pepsi wars.
Yes,
you know how
the
it's
80s,
this.
90s.
Yeah, the 80s, and it's it's like we've compared it to politics. How they both have combined forces to help each other out when they pit each other like they're enemies, but they're really not. They both coexist very well. So in 2007, I read this article. I think her name was Joyce Williams. She went to prison for 8 years. She was an executive for Pepsi, or excuse me, an executive for Coke. And she called Pepsi in 2007 and said that she was going to give them the Coke recipe. She was trying to sell it. And check this out.
Wow.
Pepsi calls Coke and tells them.
Yeah.
And that's why
I've read this before.
You did? You've heard this? I'd never heard this before. I thought that was so interesting. It just proves like how much more loyal they were to each other than probably what people thought.
A little context. A lot of people don't know this. They started the cola wars, I think, in the 80s, and there were commercials that
I remember those, the Pepsi Challenge.
Yeah, they call it Pepsi Challenge, the Cola Challenge. Who's better? And they would do these blind taste tests. Which one's better, Coke or Pepsi? But what people don't realize is that Coke and Pepsi agreed to do that
to isolate everybody,
to take shares away from like Sprite and 7-Up and Fanta and all those other companies. And they did. They actually grew both companies as a result, giving you the illusion of choice. That's the reason why I applied to politics. Yeah. Like, here's your 2 choices, everybody.
Right. But the third's not
what about other choices? No. Just these 2 right here.
Red, blue. I mean, it's all there.
That's RC Cola. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that died.
I think it's gone.
No, I think RC it still exists. Yeah, they're irrelevant to everybody.
Minimal.
To your point, I mean, they Pepsi and Coke did such a good job.
I was a Safeway Select guy.
Of make everybody believe.
Bro, that's
a quarter.
The truth is, I was too, Justin.
Right?
So the truth is, I was
Safeway Select.
Yeah, bro, we were poor.
That's the multi meal of.
100%.
Remember multi meal cereals?
Yes.
Yeah, my mom, I want a Lucky Charms. What's this? marshmallow mateys. This is not what I wanted, you know. Anyway, the reason why I did this whole thing on recovery is because I was in Hawaii last week.
Bro, I saw you got injured.
Yeah. So we're hanging out. This is day 2, right? So we get there, following day, we're out, we're walking, having a great time. I brought most of my family.
Can we guess how this happened before you get into it?
Well, Adam knows.
I already know.
Okay.
I actually want to know if he knows that this is karma for all the shit talking on me, that he got this.
I believe so.
Yeah, I 100% believe that's what that was right there.
I'm like guessing some kind of trail slip, or is that
That would have been
way
too
off?
cool.
Okay.
That would have been even cooler.
Okay, not
decided
even as cool as
decided
that.
to race his daughter.
Yeah, dude.
A foot race.
We were.
Okay, sorry.
Was it on the sand
Continue.
too?
No, it was in the
Okay.
grass.
Oh,
We were in Honolulu, and we were walking to like the shopping area.
Too much horsepower.
And there was this, yeah, that's what I like to say. Too much power. That's what it is.
Way too much horsepower, dude.
We have
no suspension.
No
at all.
No handling.
There's this big grassy area, and the kids were playing, and my daughter was racing, and running, and she plays soccer now, so she thinks she's badass. And so I'm like, hey, I'll race you. She's like,
You
okay.
even taunted her? Oh, even worse.
Well, no. So listen, it's the first sprint. I was careful. I took off kind of slow and then ramped up, and I beat her. And she's like, but I think I could go faster. I'm like, I didn't even go as fast as I could. So now the second time around, I was like, I'm going to show her how fast I am. And here's
Sprinting.
And no, I will not share this video. But I told my wife to record it, so she's got it.
Whoa, we're gonna have to share this video.
No.
Come on. I shared my.
gonna
Don't you
bribe
guys
her
remember
somehow.
last or the year before last where I shared my hamstring pull at first base playing wiffle ball?
yeah.
We're playing wiffle ball and I'm sprinting the first. And then I also got my deadlifting
Did you
pull.
hear a pop or anything, or just you knew?
When I go and I take off, and then I just felt it pull, and I know exactly where it is. It's semitendinosus, so it's one of the heads of the hamstring. It's not a full tear; it was a partial tear, probably grade 2.
Yeah,
because I still have function, but it hurt, and I was hobbling for the rest of the day.
I mean, it's purple. Your whole back of your leg is purple.
And then of course, I was stupid because what I did was I'm in Hawaii. I'm like, you know what? This is not going to get in my way. So I walked still everywhere and I drank, which is a terrible.
Oh my god!
Don't drink alcohol with an acute injury.
The best
everybody.
protocol.
Yeah, meanwhile, you give the five tips. Listen, I basically did everything the opposite of what I just gave.
Like like 2 or 3 days after, when my leg is getting purple and I'm hurting, I'm like, I better start doing something to help this. So I started doing fasting, and keto, and helped.
Oh, you did?
Yes, dude. I didn't have my peptides with me. I didn't have. Oh, here's the other thing I did. So I got home and I started using thymosin beta, BPC, and then I used Ned's hemp oil extract because CBD. So because that also helps with the
recovery.
Healing. Oh, yes,
Ned.
Yes, with muscle tear. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, CBD. So CBD helps.
Did you not tell me that because you just assumed I was getting plenty of cannabis? Is that why you
don't need extra?
It's like, I
went
don't
too
remember
far.
that in my protocol.
CBD's already in the diet.
Yeah. No, so the hemp oil extract plus the peptides and then also I rested it, and wow, what a difference! Like I'd still hurt. I can't work out my lower body, but
so for the Ned, is it just the full spectrum one, just the basic one?
The full spectrum one, that's the highest in
1500 milligram one.
Oh, okay. Yep. And so CBD reduces the cytokine release, and it seems to help with maybe the healing process as well. Is what some of the data is showing. So yeah, I did all that, but I'm not going to be able to. Now here's the thing: low key, on my own, kind of like I don't really share this with too many people. I was like, I wonder if I could ever get like a 700-pound deadlift. So I was in the back of my mind. I was thinking about it. I've done 600. I trained for 600 for a couple months and got it. So I thought, I got cocky. Well, in Hawaii, when that happened, my wife's like,
there goes that.
And now she's like, I think,
that answers that.
God's trying to get you to slow down.
That was your answer.
I think God's trying to get you to slow down.
Maybe a new goal.
Right after I hear it, injure it too, she's telling me that. I'm not hear that.
Yeah.
Honey, I just heard my history. She's like, yeah, but I think he's trying to get you to,
stay away from me.
He's telling me to persevere.
Yeah. This is just a mild setback.
Don't let
you need to
nothing stop
overcome.
you, Sal. I'm pretty sure that's not what the message is. But anyway, yeah, it sucks. It sucks real bad. Dude, speaking of when I was over there, I got surprised by a food that I did not think I would need to check for dye. So I always check for.
Bro, you've got me so paranoid about that now that I'll be looking all over the time now, and I'm surprised. I'm so surprised by the foods that have it too.
Everything.
Yeah, it's stuff you wouldn't think.
Yes.
You think obviously if it's a food and it's a bright red color, you think right away.
Right.
But there's a lot that you would not think would have it. It does.
So the dyes in general, all the synthetic dyes, they're not good for you. red dye in particular for kids, and I noticed this with my daughter. If she eats it, she's just hyper, and so I avoid it like the plague. Well, anyway, we were walking around. I wanted a quick snack. You would never in a million years think this would have red dye. Jerky.
Really?
I bought
Beef
some
jerky? Just for the
I bought some
coloring?
cheapo meat sticks because they didn't have good ones or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm eating them, and I give my daughter a couple bites. My 2-year-old, and my wife's like, "You better check that for red dye," because it was kind of a red. I'm like, "It's meat." And I look on the back, red dye. Wow. Red dye on jerky.
Wow.
Why?
Because it sells more.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, the food science, that's what I was trying to like figure out. And then really, they must have just tested all these different colors, and then if they added in,
there must be. This is where
marketing
So I think pepperoni. If you buy like cheapo pepperoni, probably has red dye in it.
probably.
that makes sense.
Isn't that stupid?
It is because I think it tastes fine. We have partners that do beef jerky that is amazing. It doesn't have any of that stuff in it.
No.
So it must not be as much as it is the taste, as that there's some sort of addictive property. It makes me think of why they put nicotine like in the
I hear what
tobacco.
you're saying.
It could
So
be
is
that
it
too.
because it's not like the nicotine of the cigarette makes the cigarette taste better. It doesn't make the tobacco taste better. It makes it more addictive.
Yeah.
So is the red dye, and if it's in so many foods, is it because there's probably addictive properties to it more so than it actually makes the food taste or look better?
I mean, maybe it's got some toxicity properties. I don't. So here's what they'll say: the science will say that when you look at the science of palatability, of course, the taste is part of it. So is the mouthfeel. So is the color.
The presentation.
So is the smell. It actually improves palatability. And for anybody listening, if you want to experiment with this, try this. Put on the really strong orange blue blocker glasses, and then go eat your meal. And it's a totally different experience.
Well, this is where like they ran. I remember it was. I don't know if it was Burger King or they did a black burger.
Yeah.
And they thought that this was great. This is for Batman or something. And
Heinz did the black ketchup too.
And nobody wanted it.
Yeah,
they're like, ew, disgust, because it signals to you like decomposed food or like something that's bad. And it's like I think we're so conditioned by like colors and presentation too that if the food is cheaper, it's going to be degraded on some level. There's going to be like, you know, like the meat's going to be like more grayish or like, you know, and so they have to make up with that.
There's a classic study where they took individuals and they did this with different foods, but one of them they made soup, and the people knew this is sanitized, this is clean or whatever, and they stirred the soup with a toilet plunger. And the people knew it was clean, and they just watched to see how much they would eat, and they compared it with control. Way less.
Yeah.
Just because the association.
Yeah.
So it's because, and look, Doug brought it up. It says beef jerky often contains red dye to enhance its appearance and make it seem fresher.
You know what this really highlights to me more of, and you've said it before, which is just the amount of research and studying that goes into getting you to getting 1% more people addicted, or getting 1% more people to eat 2% more.
Yep.
Like that is how much that we have put.
So sophisticated.
Yeah, because think about this from your standpoint. Like, have you ever grabbed beef jerky and looked at the color of it and decided, oh, I'm going to eat it or not eat it? It's like, I buy it, I know what I'm getting, you know, and then you take
it's more subconscious.
That's what I mean. It's like, that's how much they've done research, and it's just like, that's not as simple as a survey of people saying, oh, I like this more. It's like, we have studied and studied and studied, and we found when it's 0.2 brighter red, it gets 10% more people to buy or eat more. It's like crazy the amount of science that's gone into that.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Look, I have a free guide that teaches you how to lose fat in 3 steps, just 3 steps that will burn the most amount of body fat and help keep it off. This guide is totally free. We're giving it to everybody right now. If you want it, click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, back to the show. Speaking of science, are you guys seeing right now on social media, it's going viral, the Yale study on long COVID?
Oh, God.
No, not long COVID.
So you know the long COVID, right? Like they suffer from symptoms of fatigue and just, you know, repeated infections. They just don't feel good. And like, oh, it's long COVID. No, it turns out it was a vaccine.
Immune suppressing.
It was vaccine.
Yeah.
Long COVID is
heard that.
more likely to do the vaccine. And then check this out. In this particular study, they found people whose bodies 700 plus days after they got their vaccine were still producing the spike protein.
Oh my God.
So for some people, what some people are saying is that this mRNA vaccine is turning people into lifelong spike protein creating
producers.
Just forever.
And then it lives in your organs.
And then they also saw depressed T cell function, significant depressed, which like if that keeps going, you're talking about autoimmune. Yeah, you're talking about AIDS.
There's going to be an explosion. Yeah, almost like AIDS-like symptoms.
It is
down
AIDS.
the road.
No, it is AIDS.
It is. Yeah.
It is, but vaccine induced.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, dude. So,
Huge problem.
This is not looking.
Didn't I just see that RFK just did something with like the flu shot or something like that, or a vaccine?
He got rid of the schedule, and then he also pulled the he said no more like mandatory COVID vaccines.
Yes.
Yeah, he pulled all that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know.
And now the head of the FDA is now the head of Pfizer. Like,
Are they?
Just like, yeah,
Of course.
just like that.
Oh,
for
of
the
course.
medical. Yeah, they absorb them, which is great.
Dude.
But yeah, I mean that's the biggest hustle of all time. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we're going to see a lot of the effects of that down the road here, and it's all going to suck.
Yeah, the flu vaccine stuff is pretty crazy when you look at some of the data on that. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for a lot of people to get it.
I remember. I think I've only had it one time, and I remember it was like the
worst you ever
I had
got?
the worst flu I ever got was after.
I mean, that's an anecdote, but you know how many of those I've heard?
That was, I mean, it was my experience. It was enough for me to like, I'll never do this again. I'm like, why? I just literally signed myself up for the worst flu I've ever got in pursuit of what? Protecting 2 mild ones I might get later in the season.
Right.
I'll take the 2 mild ones.
I could have not got it. You know.
Yeah.
There's that chance.
Oh, so yeah. At one time, that was one time I took it. I never take it again after that. Dude. I remember that's exactly what happened to me.
I got to tell you guys too. When I was in Hawaii, my 2-year-old cracks me up. She's more aggressive than my 4-year-old son in a lot of different ways. Like she's a little bit fearless. Like he's a little bit apprehensive to like jump in the water and do certain things. My 2-year-old's a little bit, she's a little bit of a daredevil, a little, I don't know. So anyway, in Hawaii, you go quite a bit. Mm-hmm. The birds in Hawaii are not scared of people. Right, so like pigeons and birds.
Yeah. There's no natural predators.
They don't care. They'll just come right up to you. I mean, if you're fast enough, you probably grab one and throw it. They'll come eat your food. And
chickens are everywhere.
Yeah, dude, chickens are everywhere.
Yeah.
So we're at the beach and, we're eating, have some food out there. We're eating, we're hanging out. And the birds, and my daughter don't like the birds. She get mad at them. She trains this way. And they come near us. Like they kept coming near. Anyway, I'm laying there and birds are coming up trying to eat our food. And we had brought this from home. It's like a legit gardening shovel. So it's wooden handle with a metal head, but small. And we brought it to the beach so we can dig holes. Well, my daughter picks that up. I hear dink. She blasted a bird.
Oh my God.
No, honey, don't do that. No. Yeah. She blasted a bird.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. We were dying. Oh, wow. I'm like, don't hit the bird, honey. The poor bird.
No animals were harmed.
Like, no bird. I'm like, no, don't hit the bird.
That's funny.
Babe.
Like, wasn't that a thing a long time ago? It was like kicking pigeons. Like, people would do that. Then they had to like actually put out there a public policy. Like, no kicking the pigeons.
Yeah, dude. I don't advocate for that at all. Yeah. But, she's 2. She's
yeah. Well, that's
just
understandable.
Just to see her be aggressive like
you
that.
You guys would really, really dig. Sal called me last week and really inspired me to get back to reading. And I haven't been reading in, I don't know how long now it's been. And we're all like this, right? We all get very obsessive about something that we're into. And it's really hard to get us off of that track. And I've been like so obsessive with like the car world and stuff like that. That's like all my reading, all my videos, everything I'm doing on my free time is like just so. It's such a strength and weakness that we all have, right? It's like a superpower when you direct it correctly and you lean into something that helps you in a certain way. It's a total distraction or Achilles heel when it is something that is not serving you or it's not something that's not really that great of us. So unfortunately, the whole car thing has not been very good for me or the business, right? Because it has nothing to do with that. Where reading is. And so, Sal was reminding me of that. And so I went and picked up a few books. And I started this book. It's been a while since I've picked a book up that I got this excited about, where I'm just like, oh my God, I want more. It's called The Whole Brain Child. And it's like neuroscience for children. And it's all about raising our children and then talking about how the brain is broken up in 4 quadrants and that the goal for us parents is to be able to integrate all 4 of these quadrants. And when they do, the kid's brain is flowing like, and they use the analogy of like flowing down a river, of being like smoothly going. And as the kid gets closer to the banks, the left bank represents chaos and fear and like, all that stuff on the left. On the right is control, rigidity, all that stuff. And your kids' brains are constantly toggling from left to right. And as parents, we're always trying to regulate them down the middle of the river. It's inevitable they're going to bounce back and forth. But what we don't want them to do is get stuck on one side or the other, where they operate from only a place of fear and things like that. Or only, it just, the way they explain the neuroscience,
visual,
yes, and then teach you, and then be able to take you how to like walk them through that. For example, Katrina and I, right after we were reading it, we're like, oh man, what's an example that we failed with Max, right? Or I shouldn't say fail, or we could have been better, like with a scenario. So when he was 3, he fell down the stairs of my brother-in-law, and it was a minor fall, wasn't that big of a deal, but it was enough to scare him. Like he didn't want to go back to his house. He would then want to hold my hand as he walked down the stairs. He still has this little bit of fear around heights, things like that. And Katrina and I, even though the actual initial situation, we thought we handled it well. Her brother coddled him, did his thing, but we never really realized the importance of us to revisit that story.
Oh, retell a story.
Yes.
I've read about this.
And so the book talks about how important it is that's an example of his brain going hard to the left, on the left bank of fear. Now, anytime he's somewhere up high or he comes upstairs, that triggers him, and he's now operating from that. Now, how do I help him get back to the center of the river? I got to help retell that story with him. So what we should have done better is gone after the situation happened, when he starts to tell a story, is help him from like literally tell minute by minute. Well, then what happened? Oh, and then you fell down. Oh, did that hurt? Did that probably? Yeah, that hurt. Then what happened? Did Uncle Larry come grab you and hold you? Yes, he did. And then what happened? And then like literally take him step by step. And what you're doing is you're normalizing it. You're helping him process that it's normal to fall down and get hurt and be afraid of it, but you were okay. You weren't permanently hurt. You got better. Mommy and daddy were right there. Uncle Larry was right there. And what you're doing is you're guiding him from the left side of that, operating the brain from that place to getting it back or towards the center. I was like, oh my God, that's such a cool.
I did know this, and Jessica does as well.
Cool.
At the end of the night when she takes Aurelius to bed, she talks about the day with him and all of the moments that were difficult. Hey, when you did that, when so-and-so hit you or took your toy, what did that feel like? And you walk them through, because it changes the narrative. Otherwise, they live with this narrative that's either always fear or always whatever.
And the other side of the bank is just as dangerous.
Yeah.
Complete control, rigidity. That would be your helicopter parents, or trying to control everything and like rules and
go down the stairs backwards.
That's
now,
right. So
now on.
so then the kid has so much structure there, and the why I love the analogy of the river is you're thinking of this beautiful flowing river, and operating out of fear and chaos is like sticks and rocks and flipping, hitting, and getting your boat a hole in it. The other side is rigidity, is getting stuck, is shallow. A tree branch that the boat catches on and it's not flowing or something like that, because you're so rigid, you're so stagnant, you don't make progress, you don't move forward, and you want to be able to take and the kid's always bouncing between the two, and as parents, we're always trying to regulate them down the middle, and that's just talking about the left and the right hemisphere. It gets into it
hasn't got to the rest of it.
So I'm at right now talking the difference of the upper and lower, right? So your lower is your animal instincts, which we need, right, to be able to react to certain things. Your upper part is logical, being able to, think this through and process it. And again, just like we talk about the body and all the different systems, and we talk about the holistic approach to health, they talk about the holistic approach to mental health, and that you want to be hovering in the middle, and there's every part of the brain has a very important role, but you never want to be so dominant in one or so dominant in the other.
Because they all exist for a reason.
They all exist for a reason, and you want to be able to integrate them all. And so the goal is always, you want, and just like animal instinct reaction is very important. They need to be able to react and do certain things, but you also want them to be able to process, think logically, and think about it before they always take action. You don't want them to always respond. So it's learning to do both those, and then the book is teaching us as parents how to integrate that in their lives.
That's so cool.
It's such a cool read.
Yeah.
So many things with kids that I think you just don't understand as an adult because you're not a kid. Like another one is like when your kid is struggling or having a frustrating moment, our instinct, mine at least, is to distract them, change, like, oh, you skinned your knee. Oh, you're okay. Oh, come on, let's look over this thing over here. Oh, look at this funny thing. Make them like forget about it.
Yeah.
And my wife's always like, let them stay in the challenge. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, look, you guys always talk about it on the show about how privileged your kids are and how you need to like create adversity. Say adversity will happen. Don't save them. Let them sit in the struggle. And just because you're uncomfortable, like you need to deal with as an adult being uncomfortable, but let them sit in it. Don't distract them. Don't whatever. That's the adversity. That's how they'll figure out getting out.
That's right.
This kind of speaks to, and I know like I kind of posted something from Joe DeCina, and I was watching a video that he did like a TED talk about, but he was talking about like doing hard things and how that lays that track. And then if you don't complete that hard task, how that then in the future actually prevents you from attempting hard tasks. And like this is like most important to go all the way through and allow them to work through that in order to have a higher percentage and likelihood that they're going to take on tasks and complete them.
So everything you guys are both talking about is exactly what I'm talking about right now. Because what that is integrating the different hemispheres. You being able to do hard things like that is being able to take your animal survival primal instincts while also logically processing how do I overcome this? How do I have adversity? And so you're integrating the top and bottom part of the brain. What you're talking about is the other side, is the fear and the restriction. Is you're integrating the two of them. And so, and like your point is so spot on. If the kid has that situation where they're frustrated and you just move them away from it, well, then guess what will happen? The next time that situation happens again, they'll default to that chaos because you didn't allow them to process it and tell the story. Like Jessica's saying, is you don't want them to just move away from it. You want them to relive it, retell it, work through it. That way, if we do a good job as parents, is as this manifests in their life and the adversity comes in different forms, they'll have learned these skills.
Totally.
How to process themselves and they'll have initial reaction of, but then they'll go, wait a second. I've been here before.
By the way, this is hard. So she calls me out on this all the time, because if you're an adult and you didn't learn this as a kid, when your kid is experiencing something, you're so uncomfortable, you want them to get out of it because you don't want to hear your kid.
So now you're talking about how these how families and trauma and kids get stuck in these cycles and loops, and it's generational and everything. Because guess what? The parent who never figured out how to do this, kids screaming and freaking out, they default.
Throw a lollipop in their mouth. Don't make them cry anymore.
Or worse, scream and yell at them more, so it adds to the chaos on top of that. Or goes the other side of the bank and goes like, that's it, you can't do anything, and it gets all rigid. And it's like, man, and it's all stemming from their trauma and bullshit that they never learned how to process. And so it's just like this vicious cycle.
So my family's very good at distracting. Like a kid screams or cries, oh, come here, look over here. Oh, let's play with this. Like get them to change their mind. Oh, look, they're not crying anymore. So that's, for me, I get uncomfortable. Like if my kids are screaming, I'm uncomfortable and I want to get them to stop. And how do I get them to stop? Well, let's go do something fun, or let's watch your favorite show on TV or whatever. And she calls me out. She's like, that's because you're too uncomfortable and you can't handle it. And I'm like, ugh. You're right. You know,
well, it stings
because, you know, sitting with your kid for 10 minutes when they're crying is an eternity. Especially if you're in public. Well, it's an eternity.
Well, and the book talks about this too. Primal. It's a lot of work initially, right? But over time, as you get better at doing that, they get better at doing that. And again, to Jessica's point, that these are examples of, and this is why I too love it so much, because she's right. This is what I think. I've told you guys this. All I think about as a parent today is just like, oh my God, I attribute so much of who I am to all the adversity I went through. My kids not gonna go through it. But she's right. It's going to just manifest in different ways. It's going to be falling down the stairs or not getting to watch the show they want or whatever. And what I've got to learn to do is to take those,
let it teach them.
Let those opportunities, as my mother-in-law would say, turn those opportunities into propertunities, opportunities for you can actually take that as a lesson to teach them those skills.
You got to see my 4-year-old now, because she's done this with him. He'll get super mad. He'll do something to to his younger sister. And he'll get real mad, and she'll be like, you probably should apologize. You hurt your sister. And he'll say that. He'll literally say this to my wife. I need you to help me regulate first. And she'll say, okay. And she'll go over and hug him. He just did something that, you could get in trouble for, right? But he's like, I need to get right. And then she'll hug him, calm him down. He'll feel regulated. And then he'll go do this genuine repair. Dahlia, I'm sorry. I hate you. I love you. And I'm like, I'm watching it, in real time. And often I want to fight it because my instinct is different. The way I was brought up, like you hit your sister, I'm taking one of your toys and throwing it away. And you're gonna, you know what I mean? I'm gonna force you to whatever.
Right.
So it takes more work, but you're teaching you're raising them.
You're laying that foundation. It's so cool too because and it sounds like you guys are already doing this, because another thing it talks about is like, hey, you can already, even at our young ages that we have them, start to teach them the science. You just simplify it, you know what I'm saying? Of teaching them how you're using this side of the brain. Son, right now we're on this side of the brain where fear, this or that, daddy wants you to get, and so you can start to use some of the terminology so that as they start to go through this multiple things, before you know it, they now, when their body starts to feel it's on one side of the river or the other, they start to process it and go like, oh, wait a second, I'm in chaos right now, and like I need to calm down. I need to get over this.
Imagine having those skills as adult.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Well, and what's exciting, I think, and this is where you
stop the cycle, dude.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I have said to Katrina since we've been together, and I've said to our families, I want to be a generational character in our family. I want to be somebody that changes our family dynamic and our family tree. And it's not just, I think a lot of times people think of that monetarily. Like, of course I want to do that. Of course I want to set us up financially. But more importantly, it's this type of stuff is that, can I break that cycle of emotional intelligence, how we look at things and problems and solutions? And man, if it's a little bit of work right now, because I still have to, like you, I have behaviors and things that were built into me. So I've got to learn to process through that. But if I can do that and I can teach this 5-year-old, and he gets good at it by the time he's 10, you know what I'm saying? Imagine how great and equipped he's going to be when he becomes a father one day.
The most powerful peptide-based skincare products you'll find anywhere. Luminose by Intera. It's a novel peptide blend. It's the highest quality and the strongest non-clinical peptide-based hair regrowth and scalp health product in the marketplace. They also have skincare products. Regrows hair, makes your skin look amazing. It's the strongest stuff you'll find anywhere. Go check them out. Go to enteraskincare.com. That's ENTERA skincare.com/MPM. Use the code MPM, get 10% off. All right, back to the show. This segment of the podcast is brought to you by trainerwebinar.com. This is for trainers and coaches. Free classes, free webinars teaching you how to build a successful business. By the way, it's Adam and I teaching it. It's a good time.
Our first caller is Craig from Washington.
What's up, Craig?
Craig, that's a glorious beard, my friend.
Do you sell salt for a living?
And it's only about 3 months in.
Damn.
I was clean shaven in November. So thank you. Appreciate that.
We all got
I used to have it down to my stomach. I'm going for that again. So
wow. Right on, man.
Glorious.
How can we help you?
So this is in regards to something you guys talk about a lot, which is sleep. So kind of a little background. I'm 6'3". I'm 36 years old. I've always hovered around the 215 area. I've never really gone above that. And I had some recent health issues over the past 3 years, and I kind of jumped up, I did. I jumped up to about 255 pounds. So about a little over a year ago, I started going back into my normal stuff, my normal routine, which as a younger person, high intensity, high cardio, things like that. And my body did not respond well at all. And then I found you guys. So I'm a recently new listener. So I cut down my my strength training down to 2 days a week. I stopped running and I went walking, and I bumped up my calories. And I did not know you could lose weight that fast. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It blew out. Like, it was explosive. I got stronger, leaner. I felt better. It was great. And I still weigh more than 215 now, but I feel better than I ever have. And I've kind of wanted to take it to the next level, but I've kind of hit a plateau. And while I feel like there are some things that I can fix, some other variables like programming, I feel like my biggest obstacle right now is sleep. And the reason that is because of my job. So I have a really good job that pays well. I get to be with my kids. I, take them to school, pick them up. I get to, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. It works around my wife's schedule. The only problem is it's a graveyard shift. So I get broken sleep on those 4 days. What it looks like normally is around 3 a.m. after I get off of work, 2 when I nap with my 3-year-old, and then a couple more when my wife gets home from work. So I try to make up that sleep debt, on my 3 days off, going to bed earlier, things like that. But my question is there a way to kind of bridge that gap to kind of push through this plateau? But before you answer too, I did kind of break through it a little bit by changing my tempo. That really did work as far as kind of adding some weight on the bar, but I'm still kind of stuck. So.
All right, good question. All right, so let's go to because sleep. This is a big one for
you're doing
sleep.
good, by the way.
Yeah, you're doing great considering
that's rough.
your sleep. Okay, so give me. So in your email it says you average about 6 hours, but it seems broken. So
yes.
So you get home and go to sleep. So what time is that?
Well, I work from home, so
okay.
So I get off at 5:30, and I know that you always talk about 30 minutes before you go to sleep. I'm asleep before I hit the pillow. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I feel like it's 3 hours from the get, but I have trouble during the other 2 times. So, getting to sleep during the day a couple hours with my son, who's 3, when he's down for a nap, and then a couple hours when my wife gets home from work before I start work again at 8.
So it's like 2 or 3 hours, then again another 2 hours, then again another 2 hours.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when the weekend comes, what does that look like for sleep?
I go to bed when my son goes to bed. So I have 4 kids, but I normally go to bed when my youngest goes to bed, which is around 8 o'clock. And I try to stay in bed as long as he does.
Okay.
So, I mean, sometimes he wakes up at, how kids are, sometimes it's 6 and sometimes it's 9. I can't tell, but that is where I do kind of make up some of that sleep debt, but I feel like it is hindering me as far as recovery.
One of the challenges is besides the sleep, just the total sleep, is that on the weekends, you're also really radically shifting your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
Because you're going from sleep in the day to sleep at night, then come Monday.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple things we could do to help. One thing you could do is use melatonin to switch your circadian rhythm each time. It's not a huge change, but it can help. So what you do is take a big dose of melatonin come the weekend, and then take another big dose of melatonin when it's time to fall asleep. So anytime you switch your schedule, anytime you switch from work schedule to off schedule, the first night you take a big dose of melatonin between 5 to 10 milligrams.
Now you think, Sal, if he's not having a problem falling asleep, so
that doesn't matter.
I know, but I'm trying to. That's what I'm asking. Will that improve sleep quality?
Yep.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. It should help with sleep quality.
So get into a REM faster?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how big of a difference it's going to make, but I would experiment with this. And then I would use adaptogenic supplements to help your body. Yeah, ashwagandha would be a good supplement to take regularly. That will kind of help a little bit with the stress management.
Sure.
Tell me what you didn't tell us is the 2 days a week. When are you training that? Is that on the weekend on your off days, or are you training that during the week? When are you training lifting?
Actually, I didn't even bring that up. So normally that's on my off days.
Okay,
is what I did.
Okay.
So I've upped it to 3. So I do. And that was me trying to, break to the next level. Maybe that was incorrect. I don't really know, as far as what I should be doing as far as cycling my my programming. But, 2 of those days are, when I'm off, which is Friday, Sunday. And then I threw one in the middle of the week, which is a Wednesday.
Are you lifting at home or in the gym?
Both. Okay.
So you have at home stuff, huh?
Yeah, I have some resistance stuff at home that I use if I can't get to the gym. Yeah.
Because I would love to see him attempt like a MAPS 15 where he's just doing an exercise.
How long are your 2 days a week? Like how long are the workouts?
They're about 45 to an hour.
Oh yeah, MAPS 15. So you might get better results instead of doing 2 1-hour workouts, doing 20 minutes a day.
Okay.
So you're
it's literally 2 exercises, bro. It's 2 lifts. That's it. So you're in and out of the gym or home, whichever one if we have access to.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, that might be. It's probably going to be less stressful in the body.
Yeah.
So the total volume is about the same, but it's all broken up throughout the week versus 2, more acute days.
And you don't need a huge window. You literally need about 15, 20 minutes to knock it out, and then you're done.
And then the blue light blocking glasses before you're ready to go to bed. The fact that you just hit the pillow and fall asleep, that's because you're exhausted. But the blue light blocking glasses should improve the quality of the sleep that you get. So the fact that you're knocked out you could still probably improve the quality of the sleep by wearing the blue light blocking glasses about 30 minutes or so beforehand.
You will look like a dork, but that's you'll get better sleep.
You're 6'3", 215 with a glorious beard, so I think you're okay.
You'll be well, right. I'm actually around 229 right now. We just got back from vacation, and I didn't do shit. I'm gonna be honest. So I didn't want to do anything, and so I kind of regressed a little bit there, but we had a good vacation, and I'm ready to get back on.
That's right. So. Your body probably needed it, so it's all good.
Yeah, but that would be it. I would break up the workout so you do a little every day instead of a lot 2 days a week.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Doug send you MAPS 15. If it doesn't work spreading it out, you can also squish the workouts together. So like the way they're designed is that you could put, say, the Monday, Tuesday workout can go together. The Wednesday, Thursday workout can go together. So if it ends up not working out to where we're doing, but ideally I would love to see you just do those 2 lifts, man. Get in and out. And honestly, even days when you don't have that time, at least getting one of the lifts, I think your body will thank you more by spreading it out like that than it will.
Here's where we get here's where we're coming up with this. Okay, with high level athletes, when you talk to the best coaches that do strength training for top level athletes, one of the most challenging things for them to do is to measure stress on their athletes. How do I strength train them without increasing risk of injury during the season? You know, when they're playing their butts off. And what they found was a little bit every day was better than a lot a few days.
All at once, yeah.
Even though if the volume is all controlled. So in other words, you even do the same amount of sets, except one version is 2 days a week, the other version is a little every day. So you're probably going to have a lower stress response, even though you're kind of generally doing the same amount of volume. So in other words, you'll get better results.
And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. If you're chasing around 4 boys and working graveyard, you're a pro athlete, bro.
You know what? I mean, I'm willing to try anything that you guys recommend. I mean, realistically, you know, you had a gun to my head and told me that if I ate more and worked out less, I was going to lose 35 pounds. I still wouldn't have done it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but you did.
You know, I'm willing to do anything like that. I do want to break this plateau. I'm actually chasing, you know, something that I've never really chased, which is like the physique. You know, I've always been kind of fit and, you know, relatively fit and healthy. But now I kind of want to chase something that I haven't really hit before. So, yeah, I'm down.
Well, good. Craig, I'm gonna have Doug send maps. I'm also gonna have him put you in our private forum, so you can just because sometimes we might have to make some tweaks or you have questions. Hit us up in there so we can kind of help you tweak things if you need to.
Sure. Great. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Cool. And you mind if I mention your last name? I just think it's incredible considering the beard you have.
Well, yeah, I'm Sicilian too. So
yeah, your last name means beard or have something to do with beer. So
oh no! How do you speak Italian?
The dialect Sicilian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it means barber. And funny enough, my wife is a barber. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Good deal, Craig. Thank you, man.
Right on, man.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
You got it, Craig. That's a big Sicilian. You don't see too many 6'3" Sicilians out there.
I was guessing he sold fish sticks or something. That was my guess.
You know what though? So just for people listening, like splitting the same control volume, same everything. It seems to have a lower stress response on the body, which is why people often respond better. Yeah. By the way, Olympic lifters figured this out a long time ago. They divide up their workouts, spread them out, and space them out, and they do better.
Effective,
yeah, I think microdosing his workouts will be a great strategy for him. So long as he's got, I mean, if he's got a barbell and some dumbbells in that garage, I mean, just go out there, and especially too when you got, I mean, obviously we don't have 4, so I have no idea what it could be managing that, but when Max was a newborn, that was like such a hack, right? When Katrina, I would go feed the baby for a little bit, then she'd get in there, get a couple exercises in, then we'd flip flop, and so you had this ability to just go in and do 1 or 2 exercises.
Awesome. So you mentioned melatonin for a bit of the circadian rhythms. What about the red light therapy?
Yeah, that would be the other thing. Right?
And I was going to bring it up, but yeah,
it is, but so much
like when he's working, you know, I don't know, like having that on.
Yeah, that would help.
Might help, but
that seems to help. But because that was the other big thing is that you're switching because people who work like this, it's like I get.
But you need all the aids you can grab. So
there you go. Our next caller is Alvin from Canada.
What's up, Alvin?
What's going on, Alvin?
Man?
How can we help you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we got you.
How can we help you, man?
Awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on. I guess I'll just jump into the question. So back basically in 2021, I started working out, kind of taking it a bit more serious. And then about 2 years in, just started to develop some serious forearm pain, which just got worse and worse. I did get ultrasound done, and they said I had some serious inflammation in the muscle. It was on both forearms, but the right was more pronounced. And any days that I did like any sort of back workouts or any sort of pulling exercises, it was extremely painful, and it's gotten to a point where I can barely do the workouts, right? So I just thought I'd ask you guys if there's anything that you suggest or that can be done, because it's starting to affect my enjoyment of working out. So
okay,
for sure.
There's more here because I'm reading your email and it says that you've been told it may have something to do with working at a laptop during the day. Can you point to where it hurts on your forearm?
It's on the elbow.
Yeah, it's basically pain coming down from like these 2 fingers all the way down to the inside of the elbow.
Pronator teres syndrome. It might be. When you it might have they
syndrome?
Have they identified it as pronator teres syndrome?
No, they haven't said anything. I did an ultrasound. They just said that it was inflamed, and like even I asked a couple of people that are in the fitness space, and they said I have weak forearms and I just need to work through it and it'll
No.
get better. So I've been pushing through and it's just been getting worse.
Wrist cars and shoulder cars.
That might help.
Yeah,
You can send a
definitely.
video. Do you, when you do this with your hand,
Progressive
when you
intensity
pronate it and supinate it, do you notice any pain?
Yep. And even like if I grab onto things and like holding it tight, I get pain all the way down.
So you could also, so if you look up the pronator muscle in the forearm, look up pronator teres syndrome. This is probably what you got going on. And the reason why I think this is what it is because you mentioned working at your laptop where your hands are constantly pronated. By the way, they make keyboards where your hands are a little bit more like this. That might help.
Yeah.
But there's an exercise you could do with dumbbells, very light, called Zottman curls.
Yeah.
That might also help. And in the meantime, you're going to have to really back off on any exercises that bother this area and this muscle. And then what's that one called, Justin?
Rifle flip.
Rifle flip.
That's a huge one. I
Rifle flip stretch with the.
We got videos for all these. So on our Mind Pump TV, Doug, can you shoot him over those videos? Also, I'm going to have Doug send you our MAPS Prime Pro program. Because there's some stuff for your wrist in there that will
There's
that
at
will
least
help.
4 or 5 drills, per wrist or elbow or shoulder. So
And when it comes to like
all those.
the stuff that we're going to send you, mobility wise, you need to be religious about it. You always do it before working out, and the more you can do it throughout the day, the better it's going to be. So like before you sit at your desk and you go type away, do those rifle flips or the wrist cars before you go into your workout. Like try and literally just for 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, get down there and do it. And then that should really, really help.
But you got to back
listen
off.
to your body though too. Don't do too much at once. That's the biggest mistake.
No, in fact, you should probably take a week off right now to fully recover and then come back with all the mobility drills.
Yeah, but like a rifle flip stretch with a stick, you'll probably alleviate some pain right out the gates. Like you'll get in that position, you'll hold it, do the stretch for like a minute,
snake that,
and then let go, and then you'll be like, oh, it feels a lot better. So we'll send you that video. You can take a look at it, but this is not uncommon.
Yeah, basically unwinds a lot of that tension that's built up there and creating that inflammation. So it's going to help you a lot.
Is there any workouts I shouldn't be doing?
Right now, Adam, I think gave the best advice. I would take a week off while you're doing this.
Yeah.
But really just kind of go easy on the exercises that bother it until it starts to feel a lot better.
Should be probably all pulling stuff, right? Rows, pull-ups.
All pulling stuff. Like even I played basketball. I went up to dunk and I grabbed the rim and I came down. My arm was on fire.
Yeah.
Those are the worst.
Yep.
Yeah. At least you can grab the rim.
Yeah, look at
that. That's good.
Yeah, I'm a tall guy. I'm expected to be able to grab it. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You got it, man.
All right, Alvin.
Take care, guys.
Hope it helps.
You know what's frustrating is that you go to a doctor or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we did an imaging. There's inflammation. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you later. Here, take some Advil.
Here's some.
Welcome back to Friday's fitness tip. Today I want to address.
Adam's talking in my ear.
Did
Did you find it? Okay, good.
He did. Yeah, it's of course it's inflamed. That's why it hurts.
Yeah,
but now we got to figure out what it is, what the pain is. By the way, a physical therapist would have identified this right away.
Did they not? Did he say that?
I think he just went to his doctor and they just did some imaging or whatever and looked at it.
But a week off will bring down the inflammation completely and he'll feel way better right then. But then the mistake they go right back to doing everything the same. But if he really makes the mobility stuff, the rifle flips, the wrist cars, like a ritual.
Yeah.
I dealt with this a lot.
Progressive intensity with that too, because I've seen people overdo it and then they stress it out.
Yeah, so then you make it worse.
Try to make that point.
Yeah.
Also, brand new MAPS program is live. MAPS Transform. This is a 90-day transformational workout program. It includes some diet suggestions. It includes supplement suggestions. It takes you from out of shape to incredible shape in 90 days. It's one of our most exciting programs. And because it's brand new, you can get it for $70 off. And we're going to throw in a couple free things. Ready for this? Go to mapstransform.com. Use the code transform70. So transform, then the number 70, no space. That'll get you $70 off. It also includes Adam's 90-day body recomp journal. So you get to follow along with the way he did to transform his body in 90 days. And we're going to send you the MAPS Transformation Diet Guide. All of that is included for free with the $70 off. Again, it's mapstransform.com. Use the code transform70 for the discount and the free giveaways. All right, back to the show.
Our next caller is Taylor from Iowa.
What's up, Taylor?
How you doing, Taylor?
What's happening, dude?
Hi guys, thanks for having me on. You'll have to forgive me, I'm a little bit antsy, but I really appreciate you taking the time to answer my question.
Right on, let's hear it.
Well, so my question is centered around injury management, mobility, and kind of what I want to go do for going forward. Last year, I spent a substantial amount of time powerlifting. Did MAPS Powerlift. My wife is kind enough to share a lot of the programs she gets from you guys with me. So I really, really enjoyed Powerlift. I had never done any of it before. I went from not knowing anything about what I was doing to deadlifting 375. Right. And it's been great. But I found myself in a situation last year, about August. I was doing a little bit of a friendly competition with some guys I know, who have a lot more experience lifting than me. And I actually ended up injuring my SI joint, if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was brutal. I went lifted, and it was a deadlift, and I felt like my left glute seized up pretty. It wasn't particularly painful, but it did not feel right. So I stopped what I was doing, and in the next couple of days, my hips had shifted to the left, and it was pretty crazy. It's the first real injury I've dealt with in my life when it comes to like sports injuries or anything. So it was pretty tough. But I went to physical therapy, did some dry needling. And we went to the chiropractor weekly, and I was focusing on doing a lot of stretches from my physical therapist. And once I got a little bit better, I started trying to do some of the mobility stuff from Prime Pro. 90/90s really helped, but I'm mostly good right now as far as like, I also did some peptides. I did TV 500 and
BPC 157.
Yeah,
Wolverine stack.
That really helped too. So I enjoyed that. But now more recently, what I've kind of shifted my programming to is we've been doing MAPS Performance 15, which has been really cool. Focusing on more mobility stuff that I didn't really work on with Powerlift, or at least it didn't feel like I did. And I'm also doing MMA training with my brother-in-law who fought for a number of years. So we've been doing like jujitsu and Muay Thai, and I'm really enjoying that stuff. But I'm noticing like it doesn't necessarily hurt, but I feel like my hips are tighter than they used to be. And I do get some lower back. It gets a little tight when I push a little hard. And I don't know if that's just going to be the way it is going forward. I don't really notice any of those things when I'm just lifting. It's when I'm doing like performance things. So I kind of wanted your advice on what to do going forward. Can I continue to work out this way? And develop, is what I'm doing enough to develop my mobility, all of that.
Taylor, how many days a week are you doing MMA?
It's 2 or 3. It depends. With my work schedule the way it is, it's at least 2, but every other week we do 3 days.
So you're probably doing too much, is what's going on right now. We need to scale back a little bit. If you're following a MAPS program that's laid out like performance completely, and then you're also doing that, you're probably, this is probably what's going on right now. We need to scale back a tiny bit, probably down to just like 1 or 2 days a week, depending on how many days you do MMA for the week.
Yeah, but there's a movement issue going on too. What were the stretches that your PT had you do?
Oof. Let me try to remember that. Actually, I probably still have it in my phone.
Old timey would probably really be good for like the windmill stuff. That
I mean, that's 100%. But I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Sounds QL, lateral stability related.
That's what exactly. What
it was a lot of stuff laying on my back. Like I would lay on my back and kind of push the small of my back into the floor.
Okay.
Is
there a twisting one?
Yeah, twisting,
yeah.
and then
here, I'll give you 2 exercises that you can start doing.
Okay.
Yeah, windmill. Okay, so windmill, and I also want you to do a good old fashioned side bend with a dumbbell, just to start strengthening the QL. So you can look up the QL. It's a muscle, quadratus lumborum. It's a very common muscle that gets tight in powerlifters because it has to stabilize, your lateral. It gives you lateral stability essentially when you're trying to lift really heavy straight on, and oftentimes it becomes a weak link.
Justin, what is the webinar that you did for Prime?
MAPS Prime webinar.
Go to MAPS Prime webinar. It's free. You can watch Justin go through the windmill. And I would want you to do what Sal said with the side bends and that windmill before you work out and before you do MMA always. Yep. Just doing that before, I think will prime your body and make a big difference itself. And then consider the days that you do MMA like 3 times a week, probably scale the MAPS program down to just 2 times or 1 time a week. Yep. The combination of that with the mobility drills should alleviate a lot of this.
It should really be ritual. Like for me, even to this day, I have to do like at least 3 mobility moves for my hips before I even get going, and just to prime before the workout. So, and I use too, like, I don't know if you have a PVC pipe stick or anything like that you can use. Yeah, do some of the stick mobility, and that'll enhance your range. And it's great because it's a prop and it helps to kind of like get your body in even better position with that, so you can really focus on targeting it a bit more. But yeah, the 90-90s and everything you're doing with that, just try to be consistent with that, not too intense with it, but just the consistency and the frequency of it is going to pay.
You get really good at windmills, this shouldn't be a problem. Yep. Like, you can add resistance to a windmill, you should be fine.
I did want to clarify one thing. It sounded like when Adam was talking to me, he said I was doing performance 15, not just full on performance. I don't know if that makes
No, it makes a huge difference, because I was like, you're doing way too much, but performance 15 is better.
Appropriate.
Yeah, that's more appropriate.
Yeah.
My bad. I thought you were doing the full performance.
But windmills, side bends, and the windmills with resistance once a week, and you can do the windmills for mobility every single day, and that
take
should
that
help.
time before jiu-jitsu to really do your mobility drills.
And watch the webinar that Justin did, because what's really important is the intent that you do these movements too. So just kind of going through them like some people do isn't going to get the same benefit as you going in with the right intention. So watching Justin's video and the cues and how he goes through the movement will really help. So watch that a couple times, or follow it. You know what I'm saying? Put it on your phone or your TV, and then do it with him as you do your warm-ups. I think that'll help.
Where can I access the webinar?
It's free. So
it's what is it? MAPS Prime
webinar.com.
MAPSPrimewebinar.com.
Go to that link and then it'll have the video.
Okay, I'll save that. And then one other thing I've noticed, it goes in with the injury thing. Anytime I'm doing like high intensity stuff like jujitsu, and then I did some flag football with some coworkers last year. I noticed when I'm doing intense stuff, my lower bicep right in here, and then my lower tricep, particularly on my left arm, get really achy and sore. I don't know if that's just me not being used to what I'm doing, or if there's something bigger at play here that I need to look into. You guys know about that?
Depends on the movement, like what you're doing. So you would see that with
rapid
somebody
extension.
Oh,
too.
great! Exactly where I'm going, Justin.
Yes.
Yeah. So you would see that with someone like practicing punching.
Yep.
It's just that rapid extension and deceleration. So it just might be that you've got strength there, but the skill of moving quickly isn't there, and that'll cause pain.
We haven't figured out how to stabilize that yet.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, everything's been going great. I do appreciate you guys having me on. I don't know if there's anything else that we needed to go over, but no, I do appreciate. I did want to add one other thing. My wife and I have been curious about this. Justin, you talk a lot about going to like metal concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We were curious what kind of bands you were going to see. We're just very curious about that.
Oh, like Norma Jean. I like to go see like Every Time I Die, As I Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage, Thrice. Like I don't know. I guess not the most. It's not like Metallica and like Megadeth, and it's a little more underground, I suppose. But yeah,
no, that's fair. I mean, we went to a Lorna Shore show last year. That was a lot of fun too. But
sick.
Yeah, it was really good. But and then I did hear an episode where Justin said some guy was afraid to get in and mosh with him. That's nonsense. That would be so much fun. You guys call it control.
I'm gonna throw them in one of these times. So that's what's gonna happen. Yeah. Just push them in. That's how I learned.
Yeah. And then Sal, you no longer do jiu-jitsu? I heard you used to.
Yeah, I did it for about 6 or 7 years, but I haven't done it in a long time.
He's a purple belt.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's impressive. That takes a long time.
Yeah.
So
he painted his white belt.
What made you want to stop?
Just the classes were hard to attend because of my work. Whereas,
Yeah,
when I work out, I can pick any time. Classes were a specific time. Now, what prevents me from going is just my ego. Like, I don't. I'll hurt all the time if I go. So I'm all right now.
Yeah, no, we went to a gym yesterday for the first time, an official gym, and I got absolutely destroyed the whole time. It was fun though. It was a lot of fun. And then last thing I'll say before I, leave you guys to it. Adam, one thing you said, and I can't remember what episode it was, that kind of resonated with me, kind of going through all this mobility stuff, because I did try to rush back a few times into lifting. Squatting in particularly hurt a lot. But earning the right to lift these weights, that's something that really resonated with me, and I wanted to say that I appreciated that.
Right on,
so
man. Right on.
I understand what you guys are talking about now, having gone through this a little bit, and it's rough. So
yeah, good deal, man.
Right on, Taylor.
Cool, right, dude.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Have a good one.
That QL pain, SI pain is super common.
Super common.
So common.
I still struggle with that.
I do too. And it's, like windmill and a side bend. The dumbbell side bend. This is an exercise we used to make fun of back in the day. It fixes it for me so fast. It's not even funny.
Our first caller is Drew from Texas.
So Drew,
What's happening?
how can we help you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's going on?
Good.
Good. Hey, I'm just going to jump into the question. And then after the fact, if y'all have any follow-up questions, let me know.
Okay.
Sure.
In April of last year, I went in for my annual checkup with my PCP. And she said my creatinine levels were elevated. She wanted me to do like the urine test, go to a nephrologist, all of that. At the same time, unfortunately, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer, so I kind of put that on hold. And then in November, once I was done with treatment, went back, met with the nephrologist, did the 24-hour urine test. Everything was still elevated. I thought it was cancer, chemo, whatever it might be, kind of elevating the creatinine levels. Fast forward, what he told me is people with higher muscle balance typically hold higher creatinine levels. I didn't have anything to worry about. Before cancer, I was eating about 3,000 calories a day, probably about 200 grams of protein. She told me to drop that significantly and not eat as much protein. I'm assuming just kidney function and everything, which seemed pretty ass backwards from everything that I've learned and everything that y'all talk about on the show. So just kind of curious now. The nephrologist told me, don't take creatine. He said, I have nothing to worry about, but he said creatine really doesn't have much benefit, which,
What the?
I didn't want to get into it with him. I just said, okay. And then I started taking it again. So I've been taking it now for about 3 months. So just really curious what y'all's thoughts are on that.
So Drew, so you're okay. So creatinine levels are going to be higher when you have more muscle. So here's what that is. Okay.
Also, by the way, if he lifted before, if you lifted before you went in and did that stuff, that'll make a massive difference too. By the way,
so what it's doing is essentially it's the breakdown of creatine, and so muscle loss or damage will cause that number to be higher. Supplementing with creatine may elevate that a little bit. So it's not an indicator of poor kidney function in that scenario. It's really an indicator of you have more muscle mass, you worked out, you take a creatine supplement. Okay, so that's what that shows. Protein intake. It's interesting. Were they looking at other markers of kidney function to come up with that with that recommendation? Because look, legally, we're not supposed to counter your doctor. But I'm interested to know if they looked at your BUN, if they looked at your filtration, like were there other numbers or markers of kidney function that were off aside from the fact that, you're eating high protein. Yeah.
Right. From what I remember, she didn't mention any of those specifically. The one she was most concerned about was the creatinine levels.
Do you know what the number was?
It was like 1.6, 1.7.
Yeah, that's within the range of what they find athletes.
Yeah, that's what the nephrologist said. He said if it gets above 2, maybe come back, but he said he's tested bodybuilders and it's very rare.
If it's above 2, it's probably because you beat the crap out of yourself in the gym the day before or something like that, or something's going on. So, okay, so I would get and now who told you to lower your protein intake, doctor or nephrologist?
No, the PCP, which doctors are great for some things and other things not, and I don't think she works out much, so I kind of take that piece with a grain of salt.
Creatine, high protein intake, it's been so well studied. I'm just going to go to the data. And the data shows in healthy individuals, high protein intake, perfectly fine for your kidneys. Creatine has been tested so many times on kidney function, been shown to be very, very safe. That's what the data says. Now, your nephrologist is a kidney expert. They're saying don't worry about it, so I wouldn't. And if you want advice on nutrition, I would work with a nutrition expert and not your, general practitioner or whatever. That's what I would do essentially. But unless there's other labs or markers that they saw to make this recommendation, that sounds strange. It just sounds like sounds like you're talking to a doctor who's giving you advice based off of, 40 years ago, what they said to everybody.
Despite all this, it looks like you made an incredible transformation since last year.
It's definitely been something that I'm working on. I mean, it's been tough. You guys talk about like the opposite body dysmorphia of, I love to eat and lift. I went from deadlifting about 405 for 3 reps to I could barely pick up 135 off the bar when I started back in November. So It's been fun, and I really appreciate y'all because if I hadn't started listening to you probably 3 years ago, I would have gotten back into the gym and just started killing myself. And I this was about the same time, Adam, that you were kind of going back through. So I followed a lot with that.
Oh, awesome. Perfect.
When I started back, it was more or less like a MAPS 15 style.
You look great.
How far are you into this, this comeback journey?
Oh gosh. Probably like mid-October, I could start lifting again.
Oh, bro!
After surgeries and everything.
So
we're 4 months.
We're gonna start a group training, virtual small group where we have our coach. So we have a few coaches that work for us, are really really good, and we're gonna pop in there as well, and we're gonna basically group coach like 50 odd people, and take them. Essentially, the whole purpose of it is to get you back. Like you were at one point, you lost muscle or strength or whatever, and you want to get back into shape. If that's something you're interested in, I could have our coach call you. I don't think we've publicly announced it yet.
No,
so
not yet.
Because it'll fill up quick, but I would love to work with someone like you after what you went through and have you in that group and just once a week, talk with us or our trainer and see if we can get you to just crush what you did before.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. Because that's kind of my struggle right now is how do I get back to where I was, but not push it so hard in the fact that I get injured or whatever it is. So, I took 6-7 months off and didn't lift at all.
Yeah.
So I know it's a slow process.
You're doing good though, bro. That's serious change. Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
You're
doing a great job.
You're doing real good.
I'll have one of my coaches reach out to you if you're interested in getting in that group before it goes live.
You can announce it if you want.
Oh, okay. So for anybody listening who wants to check it out, it's mindpumpgroupcoaching.com. But for you, Drew, I'll have somebody reach out to you right after we get off the line here.
I appreciate that.
You got it, man. And then, go ahead.
Prior to that start, can I ask you guys another question?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So kind of like I mentioned before, I was eating about 3,000 calories prior to going through chemo and everything. Right now I'm about 2,450, 2,500. How long should I take to get back to 3,000 calories? Is it something where tomorrow I can start eating it, or
how's your
should
appetite?
I gradually go 150 calories a week and just kind of maintain or look at my body weight and see what it's increasing?
How's your appetite?
I would say I could eat more without forcing it. I don't eat a ton of snacks right now. I really just stick to breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Good.
And then if I have more, I would say I could increase like potatoes, rice, some of the carbohydrates to get more calories.
That's a great strategy.
I think adding like 250 calories right now would be okay.
Yeah,
and just see what happens.
If you're already doing things like rice, sweet potatoes, just like double up one of them. So if you're doing like a cup of rice, go 2 cups of rice somewhere in there, or a quarter cup and a quarter cup on 2 of the meals or whatever is a great way to start to do that.
Okay, perfect.
Make it easy.
Yeah, let's do that, and then hopefully we see you in the group, bro.
Yeah.
You're a perfect candidate.
I would love that. I used to have a group that I worked out with prior to everything, and now with a 17-month-old and kind of getting through recovery and everything, I've dropped that off. So I'd love to kind of have somebody to show me where to go. And
awesome.
Well, congratulations on that, man.
Yeah.
Do what?
Congratulations on the baby.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's great.
Again, I appreciate y'all and everything from a dad aspect and lifting and all that. So
awesome.
I'll be. Will the email come through in the same thread?
I'll have somebody. You'll actually hear from one of our coaches. They're gonna come. Yeah, they'll come email you.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you a ton.
You got it, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Take it easy, man.
I got to say this, like, if you're fit, active, consistent, not that, you can work with any medical professional, but if finding one that works out is always better, because
such a great qualifier.
They tend to understand this. Like, I remember as a kid, I've been working out forever, right? I remember as a kid going and then it getting flagged for being high.
Yep.
And I was scared. I was like, what's going on? And then thankfully I had a doctor who lifted weights, and he looked at it and he goes, no, you're fine, dude. He goes, you lift weights, obviously you work out. So, but if he didn't lift weights and know that, like as a kid, I would have freaked out,
Yeah.
So I think it's important to know that. And also because they're into it, right? So you're not going to necessarily find an expert on fitness, but somebody who does it themselves is
they'll at least know basic stuff. The other thing same thing, I got scared like that, and it wasn't until I had a doctor who actually worked out too that knew to even ask me, did you lift this morning?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I train every day. He's like, oh yeah, no, you got to take at least 24, 48 hours before we take this test, or it's going to show it spiked.
Yeah, do leg day and then you go in there.
Yeah, it's like no one told me that before. It just freaked me out the last time it was high like that. So yeah, just at least those things like that. That's huge.
All right, I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. You're trying to lose fat on hard mode. Here's why you're failing. You've killed your metabolism. In fact, often people make 4 mistakes that destroy their metabolism. You got a slow metabolism. Good luck trying to burn body fat. Let's talk about this.